Have you ever noticed how desperately we try to be noticed? How frantically we wave our arms in this cosmic play, hoping someone, anyone, will see us as special, as necessary, as the only possible choice? What a peculiar game we've invented for ourselves. And yet, here we are, asking about secrets and techniques and methods to become irresistible. Isn't that fascinating? We want to know how to use feminine energy as if it were some sort of magical spell we could cast. But what if I told you that the very question contains a fundamental misunderstanding of what energy actually is? What if this whole pursuit of becoming the only option is precisely what prevents you from embodying the feminine principle that naturally draws others toward you? You see, the feminine is not a technique to be mastered. It is a reality to be realized. In the East, they speak of yin and yang not as personality traits or gender roles, but as cosmic principles that dance together to create the 10,000 things of existence. The feminine principle yin is receptivity itself. It is the valley, not the mountain. It is the space that allows, not the force that demands. Most of us in the Western world have become thoroughly identified with the masculine principle of action, pursuit, achievement, and conquest. We believe, quite earnestly, that to get what we want, including love, attention, and devotion, we must go out and seize it. We must become more attractive, more interesting, more worthy. We must compete and win. But this entire approach fundamentally misunderstands the nature of attraction, of relationship, of being. Let me tell you a story from the Taoist tradition. There was once a butcher who was renowned for his skill. The emperor himself would eat no meat unless this particular butcher had prepared it. One day, the emperor asked the butcher, "How is it that after all these years, your knife remains as sharp as the day it was forged?" The butcher replied, "I do not cut through bone and sinew. I find the spaces between. I allow my knife to move through emptiness. That is why it never dulls." This is the essence of feminine energy. It is not about forcing, cutting, or imposing. It is about finding the spaces between, the openings, the natural flow. It is about creating room for things to happen rather than making them happen. Consider water. Water never strives, yet it accomplishes everything. It does not resist, it flows around obstacles. It does not push, it yields, and in yielding it shapes mountains. It does not announce itself, it simply is. And in being itself completely, without apology or striving, it becomes essential to all life. Water doesn't try to be the only option. It simply becomes irreplaceable by virtue of its nature. But we're so afraid of this approach, aren't we? We fear that if we stop striving, stop performing, stop trying to prove our worth, we will be forgotten, passed over, rejected. And so we grasp ever more tightly, push ever more forcefully, perform ever more frantically, and in doing so, we miss entirely the secret of feminine energy. The secret is not in what you do, it's in how you are. It's not in the words you say, or the clothes you wear, or the techniques you employ. It's in the quality of your presence. It's in your capacity to be fully here, undiminished, undefended, unafraid. When most people speak of feminine energy, they often mean a set of behaviors or attributes, softness, nurturing, emotional expressiveness. But these are merely the outer garments of femininity, not its essence. The essence of the feminine is presence itself, the capacity to be fully awake to what is, without needing to change it, fix it, or improve it. Think of how we approach relationships. We come with our checklists and our expectations. We come with our wounds and our demands. We come asking, what can this person give me? How can they make me happy? How can they fulfill my needs? And in that very approach, we've already missed the point entirely. We've reduced the infinite mystery of another human being to a utility, a means to our ends. But what if we approached relationships differently? What if, instead of asking what we can get, We simply showed up in the fullness of our own being. What if we came not to take, but to appreciate? Not to demand, but to discover? There's a wonderful Zen story about a master who was asked by a student, "What is the most important thing in life?" The master replied, "Attention." The student, thinking he hadn't heard correctly, asked again. The master gave the same answer, "Attention." Frustrated, the student asked a third time, and a third time the master said, "Attention." Finally, the student asked, "Why is attention so important?" And the master said, "Attention is important because attention is connection, and connection is all there is." This is the heart of feminine energy, this quality of attention that creates connection. Not attention that seeks to control or possess, but attention that seeks to understand, to appreciate, to celebrate. When you bring this quality of attention to another person, you create a space in which they can be fully themselves. And there is no greater gift we can give one another than this. But here's the paradox. You cannot give this gift if you are concerned with how you are being perceived. You cannot create this space of acceptance if you are worried about whether you are enough, attractive enough, interesting enough, worthy enough. The very concern with being the only option prevents you from embodying the feminine principle that would naturally make you irreplaceable. So, how do we resolve this paradox? How do we embody feminine energy not as a strategy to get what we want, but as an authentic expression of who we are? It begins with a profound shift in consciousness. Rather than seeing yourself as a separate ego struggling for survival in a hostile world, you recognize that you are an expression of the universe itself. You are not apart from nature, you are nature, expressing itself in human form. And when you know this, not intellectually, but in your bones, you no longer need to prove your worth or fight for your place. You simply occupy it, as naturally as a flower turns toward the sun. This is not passive, it is receptive. There's a crucial difference. Passivity implies disengagement, a kind of lifeless surrender. Receptivity, on the other hand, is alive, alert, responsive. It is the soil that receives the seed, not inertly, but with all the latent power of life itself. It is the ocean that receives the river, not because it lacks movement of its own, but because its movement is so vast, so all-encompassing, that it can include and transform whatever enters it. Consider for a moment how we listen to one another. Most of us don't really listen. We simply wait for our turn to speak. We filter everything through the screen of our own preoccupations, our own needs, our own stories. But true listening, the kind that embodies feminine energy, is different. It's a listening that doesn't filter or judge or compare. It's a listening that receives the other person completely, without needing them to be different, without needing to fix or change them. When you listen to someone in this way, something remarkable happens. They begin to hear themselves differently. They begin to access parts of themselves that perhaps they've never expressed before. They begin to unfold, like a flower opening to the sun. And in that unfolding, they discover their own truth, their own beauty, their own unique expression. This is the magic of feminine energy. It doesn't impose, it evokes. It doesn't demand, it invites. It creates conditions in which others can discover themselves more fully, more authentically. And in that discovery, they find that you, yes, you are irreplaceable. Not because you've convinced them or manipulated them or seduced them, but because in your presence, they experience themselves more fully. And that is an experience they will naturally seek again and again. But there's another aspect of feminine energy that we often overlook, and that's its relationship to boundaries. Many people mistakenly believe that being receptive means being a doormat, accepting whatever comes your way without discrimination. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the most powerful expression of feminine energy includes very clear boundaries. Think of a river. It flows, it yields, it adapts to the landscape, but it also carves canyons through mountains. It knows exactly where it ends and where something else begins. It doesn't apologize for the space it occupies, nor does it try to occupy space that isn't its own. This clarity of boundaries is essential to the feminine principle. It's what allows you to remain centered in your own truth while still being open to others. It's what enables you to say no without apology when something doesn't align with your values, and yes, with your whole heart when it does. When you embody this combination of receptivity and clear boundaries, you become like a powerful magnet, not because you're trying to attract others, but because you're so deeply aligned with your own nature that you naturally draw to you those who resonate with your frequency. You become not the only option through effort or strategy, but the inevitable choice for those who are ready to meet you at your level of consciousness. Remember, the universe itself operates according to these principles. Galaxies form not through force, but through attraction. Planets orbit stars not because they're held captive, but because they're in harmony with a greater field. Everything in nature knows how to both yield and stand firm, how to both flow and maintain integrity. You are not separate from this cosmic dance. The same principles that govern the movement of stars and the flowing of rivers govern the dynamics of your relationships. When you align yourself with these principles, when you embody the feminine not as a set of behaviors but as a way of being, you come into harmony with life itself. And here's the beautiful irony. When you stop trying to be the only option and instead focus on being fully, authentically yourself with all your complexity, all your paradox, all your unique expression, you become irreplaceable to those who are meant to be in your life. Not because you've tricked them or manipulated them, but because in your presence they experience a quality of connection, of being seen and received, that they find nowhere else. This is the true secret of feminine energy. It's not about what you do, it's about how you are. It's not about techniques or strategies. It's about presence and authenticity. It's about remembering who you really are beneath all the conditioning, all the striving, all the fear. It's about coming home to yourself so completely that you become a place where others too can come home. And in that homecoming, in that mutual recognition of our shared being, we discover that we were never truly separate in the first place. We were always interconnected, always part of the same vast, breathing mystery. And in that recognition, all questions of being the only option dissolve into something far more beautiful. The simple, profound joy of being exactly who we are, together in this fleeting, precious moment. So if you've enjoyed this little meditation on feminine energy, why not take a moment to subscribe to this channel? Each week, we explore these principles of consciousness, of presence, of living in harmony with the natural flow of life. Hit that like button if something I've said today resonated with you, and leave a comment sharing one way you might bring more receptivity into your relationships this week. How might you create more space for genuine connection in your life? Until next time, remember, you don't need to become the only option. You need only to be fully, unabashedly yourself. And in that authentic being, you'll naturally draw to you exactly what belongs in your life.